Coming into the Peace Corps, or at least the way it was for me, it was really sort of a plunge. You just didn't know what you were getting yourself into.
What? You mean below?
I can't exactly remember why I came in. I used to have a pet answer, but I forgot it.
A little higher than that, to the left. Oh, you mean the green one? That green bag. One bag? No, that big blue one. Blue one. Thank you. Is that all clear? Yes, it's all clear. Okay.
I don't know, I had been more or less trying to settle down, but then still having a certain amount of restlessness. I know, I had this idea that there was something that I could do.
It was the possibility of doing something that was really your own.
If I didn't do it now, it would be a question of just keeping on saying, if I had, which is no way to really go through life.
We had taken, it's about a 24-hour trip I guess across, and I don't think any of us slept very much. And we got to Bombay. It was the monsoon, the hottest, stickiest, heaviest air I've ever felt. And I couldn't help but thinking, my gosh, is this what it's going to be like? Really, as an American, of, well, even just average means, you're very fortunate. You're just born lucky, actually. The education you have, you're expected to get. You know, it's not something you even got to struggle for, really. And it was a chance to make some practical use of what I'd sort of lucked into all my life.
I remember when we first heard about Bimley in training. The Peace Corps rep told us that this was a dying town and that he was sending 2 volunteers here to put life in a dying town. It's got a very interesting history. It was a big seaport for a while until another town about 25 miles down the coast took over as the big seaport, and all of the trade has gone elsewhere. The school was built about 1929, and it's probably one of the biggest buildings, one of the biggest new buildings in town. Good morning, gentlemen. What do you have first period?
English.
English? Who's your teacher?
Subarao.
Subarao. Is he a good teacher?
Yes.
You think so, huh? I agree. I also think he's a good teacher. You were going early to the class?
Yes.
Why?
Homework.
Homework. Good morning.
Where'd they go? They've gone. Aha, Mr. Subarao has come. That's why they've gone. The voice of authority has showed up.
The teacher's room is an amazing place. I go in every morning and I'm greeted as usual in about 4 languages: Telugu, Hindi, Sanskrit, and English.
800 monkeys. Nearly 800. You're nearly 200 of them looking in the window. Hey, Sneha! Go to your class.
Most of them have expected us to be visiting education experts. You spend quite some time convincing them that you're a recent college graduate who wanted to see the world and put into action some of the ideas that he had had for quite some time, and you are not a visiting education expert whatsoever, or for that matter, a visiting expert on anything. I remember my first 3 weeks here. Sam and I used to come back together and we were almost ecstatic about it. Oh, this is a great opportunity, a great opportunity. Look at the things we can do. And the letdown is not immediate, it is not all at once, but it is a gradual, slow, day-by-day realization that in order to get anything done at all, you are going to have to bow down to the system slightly, to play within it.
I taught my first class before the headmaster, a group of students who couldn't understand me at all, and about half the teachers in the school who thought that I was an expert on education. It was the first classroom I'd ever stood up and taught in front of. First class I'd ever taught. I'd never had any practice teaching, really no educational theory, no nothing. And so I started teaching. And really it sounds worse than it was, because, I mean, I was there and I had something I wanted to say, and, you know, I kind of taught it.
Okay, this point here is starting point, okay. It goes from here.
And then, you know, it slowly dawns on you that that's not teaching. Maybe you can lecture it like that if you're teaching in college or something. But in high school, you just got to assume that you're dealing with people who you've got to make learn. You take a kid who can't even seem to grasp the conception of what volume is, something like that. Who can just never get it straight. That if you multiply a length times a length times a length, you get something, a space, a volume. All you have to do is go out to one of the villages and just see the whole atmosphere of it. It's just so utterly foreign to the kind of little obscurities you're trying to teach them in science, that it's a wonder that they, they can even be forced to sit in the class.
जो मारी साथन कातर मां कोयल बोल काक्यां मिलसी भाभ्यां मिलसी साथन मिलबो कोयण होवे मां कोयल बोल पाण्यो जाती घड़ोयू जाती बाता करती
Susan and Lois looked around the hospital, and then they met with the matron, and she asked them, what do you want to do? So they asked the matron, well, what did you want us to do? And she didn't know. And they did a little bit of teaching. And they found out that the teaching didn't work out because the head tutor, for some reason, didn't really want them. Now, I think possibly it could be from the fact that he thought they might be a threat to his job. So they had many meetings, not only with the matron in the hospital, but also the superintendent. And then they decided that maybe it would be best to ask for a transfer.
She has no fever.
How much is that?
No pain.
How much is the discharge with the
Quite a bit.
तुम कहाँ गिरने वाले होगे? इसको भर्ती करा दोगे तुम यहाँ पर? अब देखो देखते हैं कितना दिन में। मैं शाम को तो मैं देखूँगा। अभी दवाई शुरू कर देंगे। भर्ती कर देंगे।
Do you want to take a look at her or not?
Yeah.
Do you want to see that?
That I'll see afterwards.
Okay, I'll have her stay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
I mean, she'll be here, you know. I'll just wait for the admission.
It's strange, that pleasantness that you project in spite of yourself. Because you go over there sometimes and you're so irritated just for the pure fact that you're awake and you're up and it's 8 o'clock in the morning and the same people are coming in that came in 12 days ago and they got the same things wrong with them and they just the same and you're giving them medicine and you know they're going to be back the next 2 weeks in a row every day. But you just can't be angry with them. Just personally, you're angry at the total picture that this can happen and that this continues to happen every day. You know, when your baby's starving and you know it, and there's nothing you can do about it, absolutely nothing. You don't think about the political or philosophical arguments, and not really being able to feel the same way the people who feel who are suffering. But it's so difficult for those people. I mean, you're a Peace Corps volunteer in India, but you've got something to eat. You know, you aren't starving.
A good nurse in the United States is not necessarily a good nurse in India, because to be good any place also depends on the conditions. Now, the nurses have difficulty with the conditions in India. You have the problem of sanitation, you have the problem of cleanliness, and boy, it's here. And they just can't expect that overnight whatever is supposed to be is going to come to be. And they also can't just take off and say it's stupidity that keeps conditions the way they are. In other words, people are important, but you have to look at the conditions. There has been impact in nursing. Of course, India really needs them, but they need the kind of a person who can accept in the beginning what is there and then work with what's there.
There were about 300 birds here, and the fellow was struggling to produce enough eggs for the consumers. There were a few obvious flaws, and we could show him how to improve, which he eventually did. He had reservations about these newcomers that came in and thought they could tell everybody about everything about poultry. And after we got him straightened around, nobody else really seemed very interested. We just got into the country, and we expected things to happen when we wanted them to. And as was pointed out to us later by one of our supervisors, he said, in America, when you turn a switch, the light comes on. But in India, when you turn the switch, it doesn't always come on right away. But it takes some time for a person to get onto the locality, the modes of the people, just how the community operates, how the people are convinced about things.
These eggs, when they do this, the eggs go down into the stomach, and then they hatch, just like in under a hen, the eggs will hatch.
We've started this on a commercial basis, producing at a high scale, getting a good price for the eggs, distributing them, and selling the hens when you're finished. When it comes down to actual results of what has been done, it seems rather gratifying at times to see the amount of poultry that has been started. When we got here, there were perhaps 300 chickens. As of today, there are around 7,000.
It's hard to imagine in a country of 460 million people that you can have too many eggs, especially being Americans, where eggs are used for breakfast and in bread and in cakes and in what have you. But here, that's another thing, that there's very little sweets or pastries or anything made from eggs. So one of the problems, I think, will be maybe to start a whole new concept in the use of eggs other than fried or scrambled. What gains we've made really are probably, social gains are not measurable, but certainly we've shown people that a new idea can work if one puts enough effort into it and enough creativity. In our example, poultry, we found it not very difficult to get poultry started. Now, with that as a base, then we can expand our operations into social work and maybe bring some of these people in that have become our friends or become committed to the Peace Corps in one way or another and its ideals. That we now hope to use some of these people in our social work here in Johnson. Now we're using some boys from a very
private school here in Jaipur to work with us. We have about 13 or 14 boys now who all come from very good families. So right now, they'll be the leaders.
I know, but I don't want to ring it because Father Grace really wants it. I can't. I don't want to.
But you can arrange for we can buy it. We can buy it over here.
You can't buy footballs in this country.
No, you can't buy them.
We're trying to get one though.
Why can't you buy them?
Well, I don't know.
They don't have them in this country. Bus.
They don't have footballs. Footballs.
Well, not good.
Footballs.
They don't have good.
Not American style football.
Yeah,
Oh,
not
not
American.
We'll get soccer
but for
balls.
these, we can have Indian footballs or Indian football.
Well, that's what we all do. Get Indian footballs and take them down here.
That's not necessary that we buy American.
Okay, well.
We play for everything. No. How do we play American football?
Well, I know how to play American football. Pretty soon we got to start doing more activities for these kids, or they're going to get tired. And it's one thing I don't want it to do is degenerate into just kind of a sports club. We got to get started. We got to get some money, jelly, so we can get started more activities with the kids.
But this influence problem, we've also got to put a sense of urgency in them.
Yes.
I mean, this is probably the hardest thing for us to do is to put a sense of urgency into these kids and make them want to do these.
We want them to say, I don't want to live in a busty area any longer, and I want to do things to get out of it. I want to go to school, I want to learn. And I think we can, at least with some percentage of the kids, we can do it.
I saw some of the things that I thought were necessary, like better sanitation. So I went to the people. I showed them the plans for a sanitary type latrine, and I asked them to build it. And later on, I went to the Rotary Club. I gave them a talk on sanitation, a 1-minute talk. And all these people said, that's a very good idea. And that was something like 6 months ago. Nothing has been done. But I also was trying to set up a program in physical education there. These students don't have any actual class type physical education. They're just let loose. Okay, you want to play, go play. So I got the permission of the superintendent of the elementary schools, and for 1 month straight I showed them all these exercises, and they taught the teachers how to do it.
And 1, 2, 3, up, and 1, 2, 3, up, and 1, 2, 3, up, and 1.
When I left, I said, okay, I'm here a month. You could do it yourself now. I said, please try and do it. I think these children like it. Why don't you, do it? They all said, oh yes, yes. Next day it was stopped. Nothing.
Rama and Gopal are boys. You give me one.
No, this is that night school that I started over a year ago. It's the only place where there's a light.
I went to the cinema yesterday, or I went to the drama yesterday.
Not past tense. You say in present tense with or present.
I
will go.
I will go.
Future tense.
I will go to the cinema yesterday.
I will go yesterday.
Tomorrow.
These are the remainder of the people who are coming constantly since 1 year. One man is a radio mechanic. Another man is a rickshaw driver, and some of these other boys. There's a few boys that are coming. These boys are some students in the school. They're actually going to school.
Huh? Tomorrow I will play football, or I will do my homework. Huh? Understood?
I'd like to help them. I understand, some of their difficulties, and I still know that a lot of them are scoundrels. I'm not saying they're beautiful people, but maybe some of them they'll just realize that when they get older, some of these people and some of these young boys that just the life that their parents have isn't the kind of life. Maybe that's what will be left behind. I don't know.
Give me a pencil, give me a pen or pencil, నాకు ఒక కలము గాని పెన్సిల్ గాని ఇమ్ము. I love my mother, నేను నా తల్లిని ప్రేమింతును. She gives me food, ఆమె నాకు ఆహారము ఇచ్చును. I love my mother who gives me food, నాకు ఎవరైతే ఆహారం ఇచ్చేదరో ఆ నా తల్లిని ప్రేమించు.
It's tough to think positively for Indians. There's no place to go. For us, we're not part of the culture. That's our strength. And so we have places to go.
Tell you some stories of the glories on that train, of the 49er miners in the time old Jesse James robbed 1,000 golden nuggets in that freight train robbery. And when old Abe Lincoln rode with caught upon his knee once again, blue water line. Blue water line. If you can't afford the water, then you ought to give a dime.
Right behind the school, there is one of these small, narrow gauge railroads. It looks like something that should be in an amusement park. It's kind of a connection between the main line of the railroad between Madras and Calcutta. Top speed is about 5 miles an hour. There's one train that hits the school about 8:30 or 9 o'clock. And so a good percentage of the boys who live in the villages along those 4 miles use this as their transportation to school. Naturally without tickets, but the train is going so slowly anyway. As it comes past them, they'll jump on. When it comes to the school, they jump off. Again, it's a big joke to them. Living here at the school itself, of course we are here the whole time. The students know we are here. We are accessible as we can be. If we were any more accessible, I don't know what we would do. Our place is kind of a semi-official local boys club, you may say. Every evening, every morning, the noontime, the holidays. I mean, the boys know we're here, and if we're here, then they feel they can come also. Right now we're having a big craze on Monopoly. The old game. My sister sent me a set of this thing, and I finally brought it out one day. And it was amazing how quick these kids caught on to it. And I just began, some boy would come with a cut or a scratch or something, put a little tincture or something on it. If nothing else, I can put a Band-Aid. I've run through several hundred Band-Aids, as a matter of fact. It's nothing, I mean, of course, I don't begin to fool around with, they start telling me they're having heart pains and all this kind of thing. I mean, I'm more or less specialized in external medicine.
Trying to pull them loose. Okay, finally then, it said, I had the fortune to break the strings and wrench out the pegs that fastened my left arm to the ground. Okay, just this one arm, the left arm. Finally he was fighting, and finally he pulled this one out. Now this wrench is to pull very hard. Okay, Now his left arm is free. He can move this hand all around. The rest of his body, though, also his hair, is still tied down on the ground. Now, he says, by lifting it up to my face, this arm, when he raised his arm up to his face, he says, I discovered the methods they had taken to bind me. So he could see what they had used to tie him. The kinds of ropes and the pegs and all of these things. Okay, he could see that. Now, at the same time, with a violent pull, violent. Yeah, very much strength. You have violence. Very. Okay. This pull now, which gave me excessive pain. Excessive pain. Very much pain. He says, I a little loosened the strings that tied down my hair on the left side. Okay, now here's what he's talking about. Remember, he has his hair, just in small pieces, are tied to the ground. And now he pulls violently. All right? Now just think, you know, if someone is holding some of your hair and you pull. All right. Okay. Excessive pain, he says. See? Very much. But anyway, he loosened these ropes. Now, loosened. He did not pull them out. They became loose. So he could move his head now about 2 inches. Only that much, 2 inches, see? Now, his head is on his back. Now he can move like that. 2 inches. All right, now. But he says, these little people, they ran away, before he could seize them. Seize? That word? Seize. Seize. No, seize. Yeah. Okay. Now see these little people. He has this one hand now. Now he wants to grab them. But they ran away. They ran away. All right.
Now, what did he find on his own? What did he find? What change did he find on his own face? We don't know. What change did he find in his own face? What do you think? You girls are not boys, so you don't know. Suppose you were a man and you slept for 24 years. What would you find?
The weight of the water displaced. By the body. By the body. Now, how much water is displaced by this? How much water is displaced? An equal volume of water. Okay? Now, I want you to find the volume here. Find the volume here.
Wonder how much the lives of our students will be affected by the fact that we have been here for 2 years.
I think we're finding out more and more as we go along that the whole thing is down on an individual, personal level.
We've all
felt, and I'm sure we've all felt, an impact on individual students. This is why it has been a rewarding experience. Almost every week you have a different kind of breakthrough.
There is a section in almost every class. It varies anywhere from 5 to 20 to 50% of a class that you somehow have the feeling that they may not have understood a damn thing you've said since you've been here.
And it sounds terrible. You would think when an examination requires 35% to pass, and you ought to kick yourself clear to Calcutta if you can't make them all pass. It just isn't that way. You've got some kids who you can help, and you've got some kids who are really hopeless. The most benefit is to a fairly small percentage of kids who you have made realize that what they have in their books, what they have in their syllabus, is just kind of a bare bones sort of thing. They're just sort of have the, you might say, the lexicon of science thrown at them without any of the spirit of it. And the few who have maybe gotten a glimpse of things like this, well, maybe they're a whole new world sort of opened up to them. If you go and study some more chemistry in college, you'll find out that nobody calls an H plus an H plus. They could call it something like this, H3O plus. But nevertheless, it's the result of the ionization of an acid.
Watch out, I'm telling you a bunch of lies. Don't believe it. None of that is true. This is only American chemistry. Indian chemistry. Am I getting
If you think of yourself just as a teacher, you know, it's really easy to get frustrated, as I suppose it is teaching anywhere. I mean, I think if you're, even if you're a good teacher, it's not really too positive an influence if you just sort of live to yourself.
Well, Techley is not a large town. It's just a little more than a village. There's one main road where about 90% of the shops and the the stores, all of these things are located on this one road. In the evening time, from about 4:30 until 9, the road is just full of people. This is my time for going into the bazaar after school, of course, but going into the tailor shop or to buy cigarettes, to buy fruit, things like this, even going to the barber. This is my time to go. And with all of these people there, not only do I run into so many students going place to place, but the fathers, the different merchants that I know. No, it's more or less just a friendly, like a walk at home would be, walking through a small town. You greet your friends, you stop to talk to them, you do your business. Of course now, by this time, the people, they know me. They know my name, they know what I'm doing, why I'm there.
I told you not to do that, sir.
I'm sure that some of these boys will be teachers. And perhaps just this experience with somebody who had some different ideas, different methods and different goals is going to make them more discontent with the way things have been, the way things will be after we go.
Stop that. Yeah, well.
This idea of being accessible and mixing with the people, not just sitting in my house waiting for people to come. The idea is that, you know, we can be more or less exchanging instead of everything coming towards me.
Needs more work. I'll write the words. Good news. We all know this was
Good news, chariots are coming, good news, chariots are coming, good news, chariots are coming, and I don't want you to leave me behind. Well, there's a long white road in heaven, I know.
You really can think of yourself as doing something productive if you just kind of think of your total effect on things, your total influence.
This Peace Corps is providing people who, for whatever reasons, come over and not sacrifice, that's the wrong word, but at least are here and will live under poor conditions. There is impact because they are there. They get to know India differently. And of course, you're doing a job for the country itself, or helping it to become a country.
It has tremendous problems. Problems that very possibly won't be overcome in a long time, and some of them probably never will be. But for a volunteer, it's almost like being, to use late President Kennedy's words, a new frontier, because here we can actually create something in society.
Maybe just sort of a blind sort of optimism. But I prefer blind optimism to blind pessimism, actually. So it really is just kind of a choice I make. Because I know there are good people here. I mean, there are good, solid people who can take a problem, work on it, and solve it. And that's what progress is kind of based on, I think.
You have the feeling that bit of work that you do is for progress. Every bit of work that you do will have a multiple effect. Every bit of work that you do is doing so much good. So that's why I say it's great.
By being an American and having different experiences and thinking differently, you begin to give a quality to the activity that's going on. This is what it's all about to me. Yeah, this is the volunteer's job. And the direction he takes to do it is dependent on his own personality. Their status, they don't fight it. They can wear a tie for the minister and their shorts for the villager. And then they use what they've got, and everything becomes strength. Their skill is their attitude.
It's lit! It's lit! There'll be a few seconds. 5 feet! 5 feet! I told you 5 feet!